look what Rose says. Rose says what all basic mainstream religions have historically concluded, that the existence of a human life and being is a question. Is it at the moment of conception? Is it 6 months? Is it 6 weeks? Is it quickening, like Aquinas argued? I mean, so the idea that we're going to make a judgment that is going to say that no one can make the judgment to choose to abort a child based on a decision by the Supreme Court, I think goes way overboard.
Okay, this is so important that we have a conviction on this. And it's the fundamental question, like, when does life begin? And to go back to, well, Aquinas said, as opposed to the science that we're always lectured about with everything else, is insane. There's no better person to talk to this than Dr. Steve Jacobs, abortion researcher, human rights advocate. Steve, how are you, brother?
I'm well. Thank you for having me today.
So glad you're here. So tell me what you did a couple years ago with surveying biologists, real life, secular biologists, the experts on human life and development. When do they say life begins?
Right. So they say that it begins at fertilization. This was a sample of over 5,500 biologists from over 1,000 institutions around the world. So Harvard, Yale, Oxford, Cambridge, basically any school you can think of, one of their biologists participated in this study. Sure enough, 85% identified as pro-abortion themselves. Mostly they were not religious. They were liberal, they were Democrats, so because that's typically who embodies academia today, especially in the physical sciences. So it was just clear cut, not only based on their responses, so 96% affirmed that a human's life begins at fertilization. But even if you just look at the biological literature, I had collected over 300 sources showing that a human's life begins at fertilization. This includes journals such as Biology, Science, Nature, Cell, all of the leading journals. They not only advance this view, but they do so without any citation or explanation. The only way they do that, because if you read any journal article, there's tons of footnotes and citations and explanations. The only time we don't do that is when it's such a well-accepted fact that it requires no further explanation. And that's the case with the fertilization view.
Unbelievable. Okay, this is so important. I want to make sure I get this right. You gave me two numbers. I heard an 85 and a 96. What were those two numbers again?
Sorry, so the 85% is the percent of the biologists who identified as pro-abortion. It goes to the fact that these are people who are actually committed to abortion rights. But when a question is asked of them that's strictly on the biology, they have no choice but to admit what we've known since 1828 when we first discovered the embryo. So this has been common knowledge since the 1800s. It's the reason why abortion was illegal in this country in every state for over a century before Roe v. Wade.
Hey, Slater Crusaders, thanks for watching that full clip. This is the most important moral issue of our era, of our life. This is it. Please have a conviction. I mean, you clearly do. You watch that whole clip. There's many more on the First TV app.